All right, we are back for another week of Fantasy Football in 5. We haven't been here in a while, but we are still around. So this week will be our Super Bowl rankings and predictions. So if
If you haven't seen last week's video, hit the big red button below. Alright, so as usual, we'll start with the quarterbacks, and we have short rankings for every position because there's only 2 teams left. So we have Cam Newton at 1 and Peyton Manning at 2. We have Manning at 2 because he really hasn't had a big postseason game like Cam had last week. But he's Peyton Manning, and it's the NFL. So Peyton could have a good week, or he can have a really bad week, but expect him to have a pretty decent week.
All right, our list for running backs this week includes 4 names. Starting off, we have Jonathan Stewart, then C.J. Anderson, then Ronnie Hillman, and finally we have Mike Tolbert. Now, Mike Tolbert, I think, is going to have a better chance at getting some touchdowns around the goal line because when they get down there and they start to get stalled out, they're going to give the ball to him and see if he can't punch it in. Now, Stewart is at number 1 because he's the number 1 option at running back for the Panthers and will get pretty much all of the carries.
You don't want to jinx it if he gets hurt, though. Alright, so we're going to follow the running backs with the wide receiver group. 1 through 6 goes Emmanuel Sanders, Ted Ginn Jr., Jericho Cotchery, Demaryius Thomas, Corey Brown, and Benny Fowler. Now, you may be wondering why we have Thomas at 4 instead of maybe 1 or 2. It's because Peyton likes Sanders a whole lot more. If you watch their game against the Patriots, Sanders had at least 2 or 3 end zone targets, whereas Demaryius Thomas really only had 1. So look for Sanders to be consistent with Peyton this week, but Thomas is still being covered by Norman, and Norman's fantastic, so that will still hinder his performance this week.
All right, so our tight end list has 2 names. It has Owen Daniels at number 1 and Greg Olsen at number 2. Everyone is probably shocked right now because Greg Olsen should be number 1. That's what everyone says. Well, if you look at the production that Owen Daniels has had and the connection with Peyton Manning, he is Peyton's go-to guy. He is pretty much the Julian Edelman to Peyton Manning. So he's going to get as many looks as pretty much all the receivers. And so look for him to get a lot of touchdown looks, and especially 3rd down conversions, and anywhere that they need a conversion really bad.
We're not saying that Olsen's a terrible tight end either, but he's really good.
Yeah.
Just expect Daniels to maybe outdo him a little in the Super Bowl. Alright, so this segment we're going to talk about the heroes and defenses instead of separating them into 2 different videos. Graham Gano is at 1 and Brandon McManus is at 2. McManus is at 2, even though he's been really solid. Gano and the Panthers tend to score a lot of points, whereas the Denver's offense can be streaky at times, but I expect McManus to probably have 2 or 3 field goals this game.
Now, defenses, we have number 1, the Denver Broncos, and number 2, the Carolina Panthers. Now, we have Denver at number 1, simply because Wade Phillips, their defensive coordinator, has done a fantastic job getting all of his guys out there and rotated in and out on the defensive line and the linebackers to get enough pressure to pressure even good quarterbacks like Tom Brady into making mistakes, as you saw in the AFC Championship game. So look for him to continue to bring those blitzes and just continue to have good defensive line play, which leads to great play in the secondary.
Alright, so here's the moment you've all been waiting for. Our predictions for the Super Bowl. We're just doing scores right now. We'll probably elaborate a little bit more. But what I'm predicting is a 31-23 Carolina victory. I think they're going to go off in the first half, score a little bit in the second half, and it'll be a pretty good offensive game from the Panthers' standpoint.
I think that the score will be 24-21 Denver. Now, I think that it's Peyton Manning's last game, most likely, everyone on the Denver team and all the coaches and coordinators, they want to get Peyton this Super Bowl. It will pretty much put him as the #1 quarterback, possibly, of all time. if he wins this Super Bowl. So everyone's going to want to be doing it for Peyton and also DeMarcus Ware. So you got some veterans on there, and even the young guys will be playing for those veterans, especially hard.
It'll be a good game, and we hope that our predictions come true. Oh my God.
That is the Vince Lombardi Trophy.
Alright, that was Fantasy Football in 5. Thank you for watching. We deliver all your fantasy news in 5 minutes plus because who wouldn't want to watch a 30-minute video on this topic?
Amen.
This is our Super Bowl week rankings and predictions. Remember to stay tuned for more videos and don't forget to subscribe.
Now we have a special segment next week, so it's going to be a small look behind the scenes of what really goes on.
So we'll see you next week and go football!